Hello everybody. This afternoon I have here with me Mr. Johan Lepassar, the Executive Director of ENISA, the European Cybersecurity Agency that is located in Athens. And Johan came here today in the European Parliament to the ITRE committee meeting, and he kindly accepted my invite to have a short interview with him. So,
happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Johan, ENISA, I think it's not a very well-known agency. You deal with cybersecurity. Can you just a little bit introduce it to us, mandate, your role, and what are the challenges?
We're not a big agency and we're not very old either. We're 20 years old plus some years. And the main point of why we exist is to help member states to deal with cybersecurity challenges. We do that by helping them to implement EU law. We do that by helping them to understand what are the threats that we all face, and also help member states and the industry to make the market more cyber secure as well. We use a lot of products and services in our daily lives, but we are there to make sure that these products and services are also cyber secure.
Yeah, clear. I mean, cybersecurity is quite a huge issue now in terms of business, but also in the election processes, and in the Parliament I deal with this as well. So I was wondering how ENISA assesses the threat landscape for political parties, digital infrastructure that we are facing, and also in the past we had some cybersecurity, let's say, accidents. Do you see them as separate happenings or events, or rather campaigns as to the election processes?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we see in the threat landscape is that public administration, our democratic systems, are constantly under attack by threat actors, and most of them are non-European state-aligned threat actors. The biggest amongst them are Russia, China. The incidents that have happened in Europe have been attributed to Russia or Chinese-linked threat actors quite often. And when we look at state nexus actors and we look at hacktivists, one of the emerging trends that we see is that they seem to be merging their tactics, their technologies, their processes that they adhere to and apply seem to be very similar, and there seems to be some collusion between them. And for example, if we look at the most classical hacktivist tool, which is a DDoS attack, you get bombarded, your systems are bombarded by multiple requests. They're always linked with political events in the member states, and what we have observed in our threat landscape, for example, is that Russia-linked threat actors and activists, oftentimes they are more active during election campaigns, they are more active whenever European support for Ukraine is discussed in specific member states. So you can very clearly link the cyber attacks with political events happening in the member states. And of course, elections it's like a honeypot for them. They will come in, there's a misinformation campaigns aligned with hybrid and cyber campaigns. So indeed, there's a lot of state nexus actor activity in Europe around our democratic processes that we should all be aware of.
So you analyze also these threats. I guess you also collaborate with the European External Action Service. And do you also give some guidance to member state authorities or political actors eventually, how to protect themselves?
Yeah, what we do is that we try to build a common situational awareness. We have quarterly reports that we put together with CERT-EU and Europol, but also INSEN, the intelligence arm of the European Action Service, is involved. And we brief the member states, of course, regarding how the situational picture looks like. When it comes to specifically election security, what ENISA has done in the past, for example, we built guidelines and toolkits for national election authorities how to make their elections more cyber secure. And this is something that within the framework of EU law is handled by a cooperation group of member states. So they come together and we help them to develop these guidelines and toolkits. And of course, one of the important things is that Europe also has the capability to help and support member states in securing their elections. And this is something which we've done also not only within Europe, but also with third countries, neighboring countries. And the recent example was Moldova, where the EU Cyber Reserve, which is essentially a network of trusted, secure service providers, helped the Moldovan authorities to secure their election.
You are an enabler, a supporter, because in the end this is domestic competence.
Indeed, we are there to support and assist member states, and we only intervene when member states ask us to help them.
And we also had cyber accidents or incidents, better to say, in terms of critical infrastructure, so like water systems, energy systems, etc. What does ENISA do to protect these critical infrastructures?
So again, I think when we look at critical sectors like transport or banking, the first line of defense is always, of course, the member state itself. But then you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and what ENISA does essentially is to help to put in place guidelines, toolkits, so that each sector can utilize them for their own benefit. The other thing is, of course, information exchange between the different sectors as well, that we help to facilitate at the European level. So there is a lot that we can do also to help sectors to assist their own maturity and understanding where they are in terms of their resilience vis-à-vis the cybersecurity threats. Just bring one metric that we look at. It's a very basic thing. Any digital system can have vulnerabilities, which is a weakness that the threat actor might exploit in order to get into your digital systems. So one of the metrics that we look at is how quickly critical entities are able to patch these vulnerabilities. And roughly speaking, across Europe, critical entities, 1/3 of them do it less than 2 weeks, 1/3 take a month, and 1/3 take more than 2 months. Now, however, the statistics says that threat actors exploit vulnerabilities once they are known. They exploit it in 2 days. So, of course, there is a huge gap between how quickly the threat actors act and how quickly the defenders are acting. And it's not because they are lazy or they don't have the capabilities, it's just a very complex issue how to patch a system which is multifaceted, has both operational technology and information technology mashed into it. So it takes time. And of course, their guidance, help, support helps a lot. So that's something that ENISA tries to do as well to help the cyber defenders.
Can you just share with us which was that cyber event, that was the weirdest, the most touching, for you that you have experienced or read about?
Well, there have been many. I think there are, of course, these big cyber events, let's say, they call them eventualities, like non-bid, WannaCry. I mean, I just throw out these names which have affected a lot of systems across Europe and which have taught us a lot how to protect ourselves better. But some of the cyber incidents are also quite innocent. I mean, you might have a cyber incident connected with the fact that you have a loss of electricity for a couple of seconds, and then when the system tries to reboot itself, it actually, something messes up, and then you have a service disruption, for example. Or, quite often what happens as well, people want to do good, they want to patch systems quickly, so they apply a patch to a vulnerability, but they haven't thought it through, and while they apply the patch, and they try to reboot the system, again the system doesn't work. So some of the cyber incidents are malicious, and a lot of the cyber incidents that we normally talk about are malicious. But some of them are driven by everyday mistakes. And I think, when you talk about weird things, it's always this question of there's a human error somewhere, and somebody hasn't really thought it through, or has tried its best but hasn't taken the time to think through what could be the different consequences. So these kinds of eventualities, they still happen.
Yes, they do, but what could we do, in order to avoid these kind of events? I mean, every single citizen, what would be your advice, to us, the common mortals?
Yeah. I'm of an opinion that you can't put the biggest onus on a citizen, because the citizen is always an end user, and the end user doesn't know everything. So it's unfair to ask the person who uses the mobile phone to take every week 1 hour in order to upgrade all the apps that you have in your mobile. I think it's a bit of a it's a weird game, let's say. I think the mobile companies, the app developers, they should develop their apps in a way that they upgrade themselves automatically without our interference. One biggest issue is, of course, phishing. Phishing attempts. There are ransomware gangs, but also maliciously minded threat actors who try to get your money out of you. And they try to impersonate as your bank or as your boss asking you to send over your credit card details. It's super weird. And increasingly, these kind of scams, they look very real because the scammers use AI. What we've seen, for example, is that 80% of phishing attempts starting from 2025 are AI enabled. So you get a call and the voice sounds like your mother and she's in distress and she wants you to send her money. And she said that I'm here and I will send you a link, please open it. And so people act out of this. Be always aware that normally when people try to put you under stress and act quickly, that's the danger. Don't act quickly. Try to get out from this situation and say, well, listen, can we take 5 minutes off? Nothing is going to happen in 5 minutes. And then if you take these 5 minutes, if you count to 3, if you breathe in twice, then you can realize that there's something weird going on. Probably it's not my mom talking to me. But I mean, understanding in these situations where there is an actor who tries to put you under stress, wants you to react quickly, you should not act quickly. You should refuse to click any links, give out your password, etc. I think that's a basic cyber hygiene that before you let anyone into your front door, you verify whether this person is known to you or not. So try to verify digitally as well if you do that.
Yeah. So no decision under pressure,
yes.
But it's also very difficult. You have mentioned AI, and of course, it's not in stricto sensu ENISA's domain, but like this, people can be fooled very easily, and I think especially with the voice is the most difficult because you are just, talking to someone on the phone and you don't really know, who's that. And do you have also an advice on how to screen potentially AI content, fake AI content, because the internet is increasingly it's full of deep fakes and AI content. So how can people filter it, or just to be more in alert, as to the AI content? What would be your advice?
It is very difficult because also currently we still don't force the big platforms to mark specifically when content has been created using AI. So there might be always part of the content which is authentic, which is real, but then it's taken out of the context, it's somehow manipulated with AI, and that creates a lot of distortion. So there is no good way of understanding if certain content is AI enabled or AI manipulated or not. The best way is to verify from multiple sources that the information that you get is actually real or not. Don't trust only one single source. I think that is the essential element there. It's like you're having a fake phone call. Well, ask a question back that only your mother knows, if it's their mother's voice, and see what happens. Quite often they get puzzled and they try to push. I mean, now is not the time to talk about this, would be the answer of an AI bot in your mother's voice. Now is the time when you help me. Well, if that comes, then you know that it's probably not your mother, because your mother is always worried about you first,
Yes.
and not about herself.
Yes, exactly. Johan, thank you very much for sharing, your insights and also to give us these excellent tips. I think media, AI literacy, and digital literacy will gain increasing importance, and of course, cybersecurity as well. So thanks again, and all the best for ENISA.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.